Hey guys, what's going on? This is the Confessions from an Entrepreneur show hosted on the Kraft Network. I have with me right now someone who's actually a personal hero of mine. I mean, I've interviewed many entrepreneurs, many successful people, but I'd have to say that Ryan Blair is someone that is just near and dear to my heart. He is a uber successful entrepreneur, currently CEO of Visalis. He wrote a book, and this is how I first got to hear about him, called Nothing to Lose, Everything to Gain. Everyone, please buy this book. It is not only a Bible on how to master your passion, but it's also a good perspective on it does not matter what shit you have in your life. With the right plan, with the right focus, and the right hustle, you can achieve anything. And so Ryan's also people might not know this, but he's actually a very savvy investor outside of, being one of the investors and founding kind of partners behind the whole Visalis revolution, which we'll talk about. He's also, get this guys, he's invested in Elite Daily. I mean, for all you millennials out there, it's like the Bible for all about lifestyle content. You know what I mean? And we're going to talk about that as well. But, but above all anything else, I really want to dive into Ryan's mind. Like, how does he handle certain situations as an entrepreneur? Because, man, if anyone who's generated billions of dollars in sales, anyone who's written a uber successful best-selling book, anyone who is a social media online presence, and anyone who's so creative like Ryan, I guarantee you anyone will learn from this interview. So Ryan, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, thank you. I appreciate the kind words. I hope to add some value here. I'm really passionate about young entrepreneurs because I got taught entrepreneurship when I was 18, and because of that, I started my first company, and because of that, I've been able to have accumulated some wealth and give back to charity, and I have a lot of fun, and so I hope I can help some of your audience do exactly what I've been able to do.
Sweet, bro. So Ryan, I'm curious. What is your day-to-day life like? I did a little Instagram contest to my community, and I was like, hey, I'm interviewing Ryan Blair. DM me some questions, and I got a couple people said, what does Ryan do every day? Because it sounds like, based on your social media, man, you're always just living it up.
Yeah. So can I be honest? Can I give you a confession?
Yeah.
I didn't get to sleep till 5 a.m. last night. I live in this mansion in the Hollywood Hills that has a white sand beach, views of the oceans. And for those of you thinking I'm bragging, I am, because I used to live in a one-bedroom shack in poverty. And so me living in this mansion, having this beach in the Hollywood Hills, having access to amazing people, I was not going to go to sleep because because I had a meeting in my office with Shaquille O'Neal at 10, and I didn't go to sleep at 12 because I knew I was going to maximize my life in both categories. I was going to have a great experience, and I was going to run that experience as far as I could until I had a cutoff point at 5 a.m., and then I was going to come in and close Shaq on a deal at 10. And so that's what I do every single day, is I live life to its fullest because I love what I do. And when you love what you do, sleep doesn't matter, right? Sleep is nothing. I would rather not sleep and win and be successful and contribute to changing the world or industries or whatever I'm up to. And so that's kind of how all these things really worked out for me is I love entrepreneurship. I mean, my identity is that of an entrepreneur, and all the things I do in my lifestyle, and some of them I can't even tell you about because, I don't want to, tell you how good it really gets when you have a lot of money. But a lot of the things I do are just have fun and then work hard to make sure I got more money to have more fun.
Okay, so let's dive back into those bootstrapping days when you didn't have the money, you didn't live in the Hollywood Hills. And by the way, I've seen the photos. It's pretty sick. How did you motivate yourself when you first created your first business? I know you had this amazing mentor, which you talked about in your documentary movie specifically. How did you – tell me about those bootstrapping days.
Well, one of the things my mentor taught me was, and this changed my life. So my family was, my mom made minimum wage, and so I was always led to believe that, that I'd go get a job, and maybe if I did well in life, I wouldn't make minimum wage. At that time, it was $5 an hour. I might get to $7 an hour. And my mentor said to me, that's not how life works. So maybe I went to school, I got a degree, I became a doctor, which I could never have done because I was a high school dropout, and and I have so much ADD, I could never do one thing. Study med school or anything. So I wanted to become a doctor and make $1 million a year. Well, that's $400 an hour. what my mentor said is you can make as much money per hour as you want, right? And he said specifically, you have to do, every hour you have, you need to invest in things that are going to add compounded revenue or interest or residual effect. Meaning, when I invest this hour of my time right now at $7, I want to be making $7 per hour for the rest of my life with that investment. And so when I realized that mathematical principle, that you can set your own price, you can set your own wage, that's how I started bootstrapping, and that's how I started building my companies. Just to give you a parallel, I started minimum wage, and now I make $14,000 per hour. Now, my goal is to make $400,000 per hour or $40 million per hour. Every hour of the day, Bill Gates makes that per second, right? And I just basically started working at 6 and asked myself mathematically, what do I have to do to take it from 6 to today at 14,000? And by the way, I'm putting numbers out there and money out there. And those of you kids on the phone here, you millennials, if you don't think money is cool, you're not going to be an entrepreneur. So, so forgive me for talking money and talking about how to make it. And I'm not doing this to brag. I'm doing this because I really want you guys to get some math and some formulas, because money's a way of keeping score.
Well, Floyd Mayweather, love him or hate him, said this amazing comment. Money isn't the only thing, it's everything, right?
Yeah. Well, it is. And if your value system is, look, I don't care about money, that's awesome. My good friend Tony Shea Zappos isn't money motivated, and he's figured out how to make $1 billion. Money is a result of something else. But you have to ask yourself, as you're bootstrapping a company, how am I going to get the money to pay the bills so I can build this company? So you kind of have to have both conversations at once, which is, what is your value system on your customer proposition, your service proposition? But then you also have to ask yourself, how can I get money in the bank so I can fulfill these value propositions?
Okay, that makes sense. And one thing I want to dive about the money thing is, it's from an outsider's perspective, it sounds like you use money to invest and create more things. And one of the things you did is you helped create this amazing brand, Visalis. And by the way, total disclaimer, I'm not an actual Visalis team member, so I can honestly say this. I decided to try the Neon energy drink yesterday because I have a friend who's a rep. It's freaking amazing.
Yeah, Neon, to the entrepreneurs on the phone, just to tell you that, I appreciate that. Neon, there was this entrepreneur named Dakota Ray. He had started Neon. He had raised a couple $1 million. He didn't have the right background and infrastructure. He didn't surround himself with the right people as an entrepreneur. And the company was right about to go out of business, and he had an asset sell plan to another company. He calls me up. I get on the phone with him. I had met him before. I thought he was a stud. I love the kid. I felt really bad for him that he's about to lose his baby. And I said, look, let's do this together. And I loved the product. I took the product every single day. And so to me, I was like, I'm acquiring this company, or I'm gonna die trying. I had him basically fly out to my house and live with me for days. Took him hiking. We finally got the deal done. Bought it and bought the company in January. Now it's doing over $1 million a month in sales. It's a profitable acquisition, and it's most likely to be my next $1 billion brand. So I give all that detail to you because, one, those entrepreneurs on the phone there, when you start your company or you got something great, I want to be a resource to you, and I want you to call me so I can make an investment in your company, or I can give you some advice on the subject, provided it is within my wheelhouse, meaning I can't give you advice or investments on everything. But if I like what you got, count me in.
What's your investment philosophy, or what's your criteria?
I bet on the horse. So I want to find the next Mark Zuckerberg. But one of the reasons why Mark Zuckerberg is because Sean Parker taught him how to structure his agreements and helped him get to the VCs and helped him. So I'm looking to bet on the horse. I like wicked smart people. I like people with high aptitude. I like people with high passion. I like people who are willing to die trying, meaning they hate to lose, and it's a meaningful thing for them to win, whether that be the personal capital they're putting in, the credit cards that they're leveraging, and I like to see people with ingenuity, meaning they'll find a way to get the job done. So, and there's a lot of tools and platforms. But if you read my book, which surprisingly, all these people write me saying, Ryan, will you help me start a business? And I'll say, read my book, and I'll never hear back from them. Right? And the reason why I say read my book is not because I want to sell books. I give all my money for the books to charity. So, I'm not trying to sell books. I'm trying to make an impact. I want Elite Daily, the founders of Elite Daily read my book. They called me up. They started a company, and that's how I invested in Elite Daily.
Let's talk about Elite Daily a little further, because pretty much people that are listening to this interview are familiar with Elite Daily. Tell us about the story behind that.
So Gerard Adams, founder of Elite Daily, successful entrepreneur out of the New York area prior. And when I say successful, he had some base hits, so he had learned. He reads my book and he decides to start Elite Daily. And then they write an article about me, which is very, very smart, right? Because all of us, entrepreneurs, we need articles written about us, and we generally monitor the stuff that's said about us, in the press. He writes an article saying one of the greatest mentors of all time. I see the article. I have my press agent call him up to say, hey, this is cool. I knew Elite Daily was starting to build some traction. And I said, hey, can I come to your offices? Of course, they were like, yeah, let's do it. I came in. I saw greatness in that office. I begged him to let me invest. Gerard, obviously, because I provide value, let me invest. And we just sold the company for $47 million to Daily Mail. Gerard's now a multimillionaire, and I'm partnering with Gerard on a lot of my investments. So that's the story of Elite Daily.
Okay. Going deeper into Elite Daily is tapping into this millennial market, a market that is near and dear to my heart and the Tradecraft Network's heart. What's going on with this millennial revolution?
It's amazing. You have a large population of people that are underserved. Millennials don't have job offers when I was the age of a millennial, the job environment was way different than it is today. It's tough to get jobs. There's more of you. There's less jobs. There's more higher qualified people that are in the job force because people are not retiring anymore at age 60. They're retiring at 80 and so forth. So those people are holding the more qualified or the more skilled jobs based on their tenure and otherwise. And so the millennials right now, it's a bad environment for a millennial looking for a job, but that's a great environment for a millennial looking to become an entrepreneur because you create your own job, right? And there's got to be people to service these millennials, and there's got to be jobs created for these millennials. And so you as an entrepreneur are basically creating jobs for the millennials. So in my opinion, that's the revolution, the entrepreneurial revolution of what's going on with the millennials. And that's why I love making these various investments in millennial-driven companies.
Okay, so you bring up jobs, and one of the things after I read your book and I did some research on you a while back, you were on Fox News talking smack about the Obama job plan. Why?
Yeah, it didn't work. The way that the plan worked, you have to focus on the entrepreneur. So Obama's job plan was focusing on subsidies for companies like GE. GE is then going to take these various subsidies and invest it in automation, which is going to reduce the jobs. If you want to add jobs, you've got to create companies. Entrepreneurial companies, startups, and small businesses are the majority of the jobs in America. And I was dumbfounded that his plan was dealing with companies like GE and all these big powerhouse companies that by their nature reduce the job count. Because the bigger my company is, the less jobs that I want. But the smaller my company is, the less automation I have, so I have to have more jobs on a per revenue basis. This is a very complicated thing, but for example, in a startup, you might have 10 employees doing $100,000 a year on a per revenue basis. That's $10,000 per year per job. All right? Now that won't be sustainable, but you have more jobs per revenue. Now in my company, Visalis, I want to make $1 million per employee, and I have to invest in infrastructure, systems, scalability, outsourcing to reduce those jobs that I used to have so I can make more money and have more profits and invest in more initiatives. So Obama got it wrong, but he did get a lot of things in the economy right. So I don't hate the guy on the subject, but I want to have an input as an entrepreneur, a person who's created thousands of jobs. I want a liability in our society, a taxpayer liability. Our society had to pay for me to live in juvenile hall, right? That's a bad thing for our society, right? Now, I paid personally $90 million in taxes. That guy should be talking to me about how to do this, not to the CEO of General Electric who went to Harvard, got his MBA, and then went on to work his way up at a GE. He technically probably hasn't created jobs from scratch, and I don't know that one. Maybe the guy GE has, but the people he was seeking counsel from were not the job creators. They were the Wall Street corporate America people. And as you know, the Wall Street corporate America people do more to eliminate jobs than they do to make them.
When this interview airs, which is going to be in the fall of 2015, this is pre-election buzz. And millennials, in my opinion, are probably the most influential group for this upcoming 2006 presidential race. What are the things that, in your opinion, or what are you looking for in the next presidential candidate? I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's funny. America right now is not making entrepreneurial sense. And my belief system is that the fabric of our society is entrepreneurs. Every time you get into your car and you turn on your radio and you drive your car, there's probably 1,000 entrepreneurs involved in that, right? In that process.
Mm-hmm.
There's a guy who invented the radio. There's a guy who invented, the current version of the radio. There's a guy who invented all kinds of entrepreneurs who were involved. There's probably 10,000 entrepreneurs that were involved in the very car that you're driving. And so I would look for a president because I care more about economic policy, because if you solve the money problem in America, if we're out of debt, and we're having trillions of dollars coming in the door, well, then even many trillions in tax revenue, you can make the infrastructure investments and create the right social programs. But if you don't solve the money problem, then you're not going to solve any problem, and all you're going to do is raise taxes for no purpose whatsoever other than trying to solve these problems with self-perpetuating failure. So I'm looking for a president that's a businessman. I don't know that Trump is that. I love Trump. I've met him before. I'm a big fan. I know he's a businessman, but I don't know that he'll make it to the end of the day with as it relates to his presidential and political aspirations. Meaning that, he's being attacked and he's got some formidable people on the other side. He's certainly got the Democrats, and they have a strategy to defeat him. So I'm just looking for a business person. I think Hillary has a lot of that. I don't know that that's her core focus. But that's what I'm looking for.
Okay. Well, you mentioned Trump, and one thing that you do share with Trump is that you are very good at developing a self-brand. Yeah. And one of the things I'm noticing with millennial entrepreneurs, more and more of them, is they're starting to see the ability to be a self-brand. For instance, if you're an expert in, let's say, millennial entrepreneurship, you'll be asked to be speaking on panels. You get to be doing keynotes. You might get a book deal. And boom, it helps your business. What advice do you have about the whole self-brand generation?
So I'll reference a personal hero of mine. He said, I'm not a businessman. I'm a business, man.
Yeah, Jigga. Yep.
Jay-Z. When you read my book, most of the advice I give in it, I reference rap because I grew up in the rap genre. So I have a lot of lyrics that inspired me to create businesses. But yes, you have to create a brand. That's, you have to in this day and age, because that's going to get you so much access, so much network, so much credibility. It makes you an authority in the subject. And people who are authorities and subjects with access to large networks and have large followings are making a lot of money. So you have to invest in building a brand. Now, if you don't really care about being that brand, let's say it goes against your value system, or you hate having a lot of friends, or whatever the case is, that's fine, but you need to make that investment in building the brand of people within your company. Because all a company is people, not just people don't get. A company, strong or weak, is a group of people. And it's those people and their decisions and their values and their work ethic and their intelligence that create a company. So you got to create a brand and be one of those people in the company. And as a CEO of a company like I am, I have to have a brand with my employees, with my customers, with everyone. So I have invested a lot in building my brand, and that's a core reason for my success. And I continue to invest. When I say a lot, I've invested millions of dollars in getting a book that's been published in 15 countries. Millions of dollars in acquiring my 3 million customers through my spouse. Millions of dollars in my brand, so that way I could get the Neon acquisition. And right now, this is a time investment. If you don't have money to invest in your brand, you're investing time. And that's the most important thing. And what I'm doing with you on the phone right now is I'm investing time in my brand. And the reason why is I want you guys in the audience to buy my products, support my company, or just, have a good feeling about me.
Yeah, no, I love your honesty. It's so true. And I can already tell you, Neon Energy Drink is a bestseller. I can speak from just drinking it.
Thank you.
As you were talking about building a brand, as your entrepreneur journey, when you built ViSalus, or as you're currently building it, did you have $100 million, $200 million revenue annual type of experience?
No.
How did you get that experience?
The hard way. The company grew. The company started growing, and so I had to master things like finance. I had to master things like I started ViSalus. So it's a back history. My first company was called 24/7 Tech.
Yep.
It was a 24-hour day, 7-day a week computer repair service. I learned computer repair because I used to liberate computers when I used to live on the streets, and that was one of the rackets that we were involved in. I knew how to take apart a computer, and I knew how to repair it, and I knew how to program it because I would go into Egghead Software, which is a bookstore that no longer exists, buy computer books and so forth. So 24/7 Tech, I basically figured out while I was going to community college that if I could have this thing on the side where I got paid $100 to go repair a computer, that I could fund my college. And so I started with zero money on it, just skill. And I went out there and I started talking to people, people in the community and talking to businesses, getting the word out. Next thing you know, I remember my first month. So I had a job at the time, and I calculated for me to leave my job and do this full time. So I had a job going to college because I was a poor guy, I had no money. Going to community college, I calculated for me to leave the job that I had so I could focus on school and so that I could focus on this company. I needed to make $1,000 a month. And so I got up to $1,000 a month in about 5 months. Nothing happened fast. And I continued duplicating from there. So, when I wanted to have a better lifestyle than $1,000 a month, I needed to get to $3,000 a month and then $5,000. 24/7 Tech then got to about $1 million business on a run rate basis. But I didn't love computer repair. I just didn't live for it. So I sold 24/7 Tech, started Sky Pipeline. Sky Pipeline, I started with $18,000 that I'd saved up as a result of 24/7 Tech. And the job that I'd had started with $18,000. I built it the same way I described to you. By the time, 2 years later, I sold it in a $25 million transaction. Now, that's when I became considered a successful entrepreneur. Okay. I then spent all the money, went bankrupt, and had to start all over, and that was Visalis. The reason why I spent all the money, went bankrupt, and something I'm not proud of, but it made me who I am, is because once I got all the money, and I hope no one does this on the phone, I started buying sports cars, penthouses, bottle service, chasing fast times, and I didn't really think about the fact that I was giving all my money away to other entrepreneurs, and that's not a good system. So one of the pieces of advice I have to people on the phone is don't do those things until you got the money to do them. But a lot of people like me, I did it, and I wasted all my money because I got caught up in that marketing. And so when I realized that, I started Visalis. I was really prudent, because I was dead broke. I raised a little money from some friends and some family, $60,000, to get the proof of concept off the ground, actually to buy the company. I bought the company for $60,000 in March 2005 with my co-founders, Nick Sonicola and Blake Mellon. And then from there, we started building. Month one, we did $30,000 in revenue, which isn't a bad first month. And our high month so far has been $65 million in revenue from there. So I took it from $30,000 a month to $65 million a month over a period of time, multi-billions in sales. Now, as I was doing that, and I was proving the revenue model, I then went to some VCs and people that were investors, and I ended up raising for myself somewhere around $150 million over time to get the job done. I sold Visalis for $792.4 million in 2012. I'm 38 years old, by the way, so this has been, over my 17-year career. I sold it for $792.4 million in 2012, and then recently bought it back for $148 million, and now I'm running Visalis again. So I try to get fast on that, and there's a lot of details in between that I can't go over, but I just want to give you guys a framework of my entrepreneurial career and the transaction stuff that I've done.
No, that's amazing, and that was so eloquent, actually, the way you described it. So that was dope. I'm curious about the fundraising aspect of it. What's your thoughts? Because now that you are a VC on your own, I mean, what's the best way to raise money? Just any thoughts come to your mind?
We'll start with anybody who has. Write up a list of people that that have money. Okay. if you don't have a list of people that have money, get out there and meet some people. Facebook them, inbox them, Instagram, DM them. All right, you got a guy on the phone right now that has some. In modern day technology, I didn't have this before. You had to write a guy a letter and hope he called you back. Now you can send a guy a DM and know that you read it or didn't, and maybe he doesn't like it. So there's so much more advantage that you have as a millennial to get access to people with capital, right? But before you have to obviously have a business plan, and you have to have. And I hate business plans. In fact, a chapter in my book is called "I Hate Business Plans." But you have to have a business model, not a plan, meaning an economic model for a guy like me to want to invest in your company. You can't just say, hey, I got this idea, will you invest in me? Because the answer is no with a guy like me. But maybe with your mom or your cousin or your uncle or an angel investor, he might be willing to give you a couple of bucks to start your company. I've done that on a few bases without a plan, but when you start talking to VCs like me, you got to have a little higher level of sophistication because, I'm trying to make the more higher sophisticated investments. So, once you do that, you build, your network of entrepreneurs, then you gotta basically close them. You can close them on doing debt, which is, I recommend, meaning you do a debt deal early on, and you could do a kind of debt that's called convertible debt, which is what we did at Elite Daily, and what I've done a number of them. So you convert the debt to equity, meaning you don't have to pay off the debt. You raise money with the debt structure because it's simple. You can get a debt structure contract online for anywhere. Somebody emails me, I'll send you one. You can use one of mine that I do, and you raise the money in debt, and then you convert it into equity, and now you have a funded business. It takes hustle, it takes tenacity, but the number one responsibility of an entrepreneur is to make sure they have the capital to build their business. And so, so that's what you got to do if you're an entrepreneur. You got to learn how to raise money.
So what's your take on pre-rev versus revenue?
Depends on the business. I have some pre-revenue companies. I like revenue. I like companies in revenue mode because I can add a lot of value there. When I invest in a business, I'm only doing it because I think somehow I can increase the value of this business by helping them. I don't invest because it's a mathematical investment strategy. I'm not one of those VCs. It's just I invest because I fall in love with the entrepreneur and the business, and I think that I can, and I love the product or the service, and I think that I can add some infrastructure advice. I think that I understand the scaling and infrastructure of a company, so I think I can add a lot of value to that entrepreneur and some money. And so I like to get companies that are either right around the corner from revenue, meaning they're pre-revenue, or they've got a couple months of sales just to show me that they've demonstrated that they can actually sell a product or a service to someone. Because if an entrepreneur doesn't know how to sell a product or a service, he's not going to have a successful company.
Oh, for sure. And I just looked at your Instagram a little while ago. You invested in Mosquita? Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Mosquita was, she's amazing. Alessandra Mosquita. She worked for an entrepreneur that owned the brand Ed Hardy, Christian Ajay. I met her when I was talking about a deal with Ed Hardy a long time ago. When she went to start Mosquita, she did so inspired by our many chats and conversations and her reading my book and her seeing me do it. Because when I met her, I was a successful entrepreneur, but I wasn't as successful. So it was really cool. She started her brand. The clothing is phenomenal. She's got a work ethic like nobody's business. She's smart. She's passionate. She's a star. I gave her a bunch of money, and it's a women's fashion clothing line. And the other creative, the other benefit that I receive is, I get to spend time in these fashion shows, and I get to, meet people within the fashion industry as a result of this investment. So there's also side benefits to some of these things.
Nice. So you invest, I'm just curious. So like, even though you're not the end product, you're not the one wearing the product, you see the potential in the horse, as you said, right?
Yeah, I bet on the horse. I generally, that one was a bit of an off policy investment, meaning I'm not looking to create apparel. That's not my strong suit. But
at least not yet.
Yeah, not yet. I so believed in her, but I do have apparel sales within Visalis because Visalis has a large community of sales and customers. So I know enough about apparel that, I sell several million a year worth of apparel as a result of Visalis. So, I know enough about it. I can provide enough value. I know enough people in the apparel business to add value. I'm not an apparel expert, but I believe in the horse. So I invested because of her against my own strategy of not investing in industries that I don't understand, that I'm not an expert in. I try to only invest in places where I can say I'm, one of the best in the world at this particular category, and so I can help them be that too. And that's why my VC fund is called #1, because it's number one, the pound. And so I want to only invest in companies that can be number one in their category.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, that's dope, man. One of the things that I was channeling inside when you were talking about this whole Mosquita is it sounds like she's an early stage entrepreneur and she's getting her, her chops driven and mentored.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, for the final part of this interview, let's talk about the mentorship side. If you met, now the person, the 25-year-old version of yourself, and you had 30 minutes of coffee with them, what would you say to them?
If I met the 25-year-old version of myself, and I had 30 minutes of coffee, what would I say to them? I would say, you're going to be a success no matter what. Because I made a lot of bad decisions out of fear. And fear is the thing that's going to kill you and your business, right? You cannot be an entrepreneur operating in fear. You got to do everything you can to get out of that. I had fear of poverty. I had fear that I was going to go broke. I had fear that I was going to go bankrupt. I had all kinds of fears. So what I would tell them is you're going to be a success if you put the hours in. I would just say it's this simple. Are you going to put 10,000 hours into this? Are you going to put 10,000 hours into being an entrepreneur?
Absolutely.
Okay, you're going to be a success. You get your 10,000 hours, though, however you want. You can do 17 hours a day, 6 days a week, 7 days a week, and you'll get them quicker. But once you get those 10,000 hours, and if you have, if you do that, you're going to become a professional entrepreneur. Now, what a professional entrepreneur is, in my book, is a person who earns a full-time living as an entrepreneur. But you got to be prepared to put the 10,000 hours in. And 10,000 hours into entrepreneurship is reading books like mine. It's attending events and seminars. It's actually getting out there and selling and networking. It's entrepreneur. In order for you to get 10,000 hours in, 17 hours a day, 7 days a week, you got to reduce the stuff that you do in your life that is not entrepreneurial. So you can't watch every sports game. I used to be a sports fan. I can watch every game. Now I don't watch any games anymore. Why? Because the game that I'm playing is the game of entrepreneurship. I'm not going to watch someone else make money playing a game. You know, I was a massive Lakers fan. I usually go to the games. But what you're watching by watching that game is an entrepreneur stealing your time to make money so that way he can make more money. And basically, every time you watch that TV, you're watching another entrepreneur take your money. And that's the way you have to factor that. So you have to reduce all time spent on non-entrepreneurial tasks. That's what I told my 21-year-old virgin self, or 25 version self, so that way you can get to the professional level. And then when you get to that professional level early, because you didn't go partying with your friends, you didn't go on this vacation, you didn't go to this nightclub, when you get to that level early, then you're going to have all the money in the world, and then you can play for the rest of your life if you want to. Most kids that I know, though, they don't put in their hours. So by the time that they're 30 years old, they don't have they don't have a good entrepreneurial foundation, revenue stream coming in. And so as a result, they got to take a job. Because 30 years old, you're out on your own, you might have a kid, you need a mortgage, you have all these responsibilities. And then sometimes when you're 30 years old, you're unwilling to take the risk to start a company because you're afraid that, how your kid's going to be paid for. And how are you going to support your kids? How are you going to pay that mortgage if you become an entrepreneur? And so you got to do it early, and you got to do it fast, and you got to get those hours in. So like me, when you're 30, you're a multi-millionaire, and you can do whatever you want for the rest of your life.
Wow.
How is that for a speech to a 21 to 25-year-old?
Dude, I'm speechless, bro. No pun intended. I'm literally that was good.
Yeah.
Final question on this whole mentorship side. Let's say that 25-year-old is willing to work with you on businesses that you right now don't have time for. Let's just say you're like, hey, I'm busy with Visalis. I'm busy with my investments. I don't have time to build $1 billion opportunity right now, but I will fund it and I will be a mentor and board member, whatever. Yeah. What are some industries that, would you work with someone else on?
Yeah. So if I like the entrepreneur and I have some friends in the industry, I'll point them in the right direction. I'll give you a case in point. One of my ex-employees left Visalis. He's a wicked engineer, analyst, finance background. This kid was a rock star. I hated the fact that he left to go to another company. But the other company offered him a great amount of money, more than we were willing to pay him. And he went to the other company and helped him get some job experience and so forth. He then contacts me. Yeah, I gotta go. He then contacts me and says he wants to be an entrepreneur. And as a result, we're now working back together. So I've actually got to log off because I have a TV interview that I've got to jump on. But I just want to say thank you very much. Good luck to you guys on the phone. And you can connect with me on Facebook. Or you can connect with me on my Instagram, and I'd love to hear from you guys. It's ryanblair.fans. Cool. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, man.